Hello, I'm Vanessa Simone,
And I'm Mimi Hayes.
and we are
The Girls Next
Pour.
Pour.
Happy International Women's
Happy
Day!
International Women's Day to you, Vanessa. I
And to
love this day.
everyone.
And to
I love
everyone, to the ladies.
Yes,
That's gonna be one of my social media posts today, is just a
same.
bunch of women I love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's the deal today? We were just having a conversation
We were.
and some
Mm-hmm.
tears were shed, and we thought this would be a good topic for today. What is that topic?
Where you can find inspiration. And I think it's going to be a little bit of vulnerability as an artist
Mm-hmm.
because that's heavy and huge.
Yes, yes. I don't think we have a vulnerability episode, do we? No, we don't.
No.
Okay.
It's me. Are you kidding me? I hate being vulnerable. I was like, that's a good idea, but I don't really want to talk
You're
about
like,
that.
I took that off the list actually, because
Yeah.
no.
Delete.
That's funny. So inspiration is this interesting concept because we talked about the artist way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the artist way, they do mention God, but not as we see it, not as you would think,
Mm-hmm.
the guy in the sky or whatever, more as an energy source,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can tap into. And so I think inspiration has a lot to do with that kind of spiritual energy. Great example of this, if you haven't read Big Magic, I've probably mentioned it a few times on
Yes.
this podcast, but there is a specific scene out of Big Magic, and essentially the whole book is about inspiration and creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea that if inspiration strikes you, right, that like quintessential lightning bolt comes to your head, you have a book idea, right, you rush to the counter, you find your pen and you start writing it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
um oh, that was a nice note from someone I just saw on my phone. My phone just popped up, my little text messages. Someone's like, you are amazing, I needed what you said to me. We'll get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
So Big Magic, the inspiration comes to you. You have a choice to follow that inspiration, to let it take hold of you, to go and write the book, to go and do the outline, to go and make the painting,
Execute on the idea.
execute. And if you don't, what happens is that idea travels like a little wisp.
I think of it as like a little fairy who's like, I'm sitting here and waiting for you to execute the idea. Okay, you're not. And then the fairy's like, I gotta fly away now. I
You
gotta
gotta go
find somebody
find
to
somebody else.
execute and do the idea.
Yeah, so the
Mm-hmm.
fairy, the inspiration fairy, lands on somebody else, and they get the same inspiration that you did. And now this time they have the same choice. Am I going to follow it or let the inspiration fairy carry on? So, what do you think about that idea in general?
I love it and I hate it at the same
Really?
time because there have been so many times when an idea or something will cross my mind. And honestly, I love it because it forces you to, after you realize the pattern, you're like, oh shit, I got to execute on it immediately because I don't want that idea going away. Because there's been so many times when I'm making a video talking about whatever and an idea has come to me and I know I'm supposed to make the idea the video and then I see one of my peers create the same video with things that I thought like I was going to say that. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to put that in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's almost having respect for the idea so much that you give it urgency. But also in the book she does talk about how, you might not it might not be your time for
Mm-hmm.
that idea because especially as creatives we have so many ideas that can flood our minds and our brains that we might not have the time or we might just not quite be there for that idea to happen for us, and so it does need to go off to somebody else to get executed. So it's a love-hate relationship for me because I want them all for me
Mm-hmm.
selfishly, but I also know I can't physically do all my ideas at once every day all the time, so I
Right.
understand it. I have a
Right.
respect for it.
Yeah. I think I'm living in one of those moments right now where I have this, sometimes I get these dreams. It doesn't happen very often, but it's
Hmm.
happened a handful of times. And usually I'm traveling, which puts me automatically in a more creative, inspired state.
Same.
And so I had this dream, and I think I was in Spain with my friend, and I woke up from this dream and I was like, this is a book idea. Great. So I ran to my pen and my paper and I was writing it furiously down, these characters, these ideas were coming out of me. And then I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. That was like 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Wow.
Never wrote
Okay.
that book. Never wrote that book idea. Um, and now I'm like revamping my business as a writing coach. And so I'm like taking on other writers with other ideas. And what do I hear when I get on this consultation call? But a similar plot
Oh my
to the book
god.
that I mean, it's interesting because it's obviously not going to be the same book,
It's not going to be the same,
but it
but
had to do with choices and it had to do with alternate realities and how you
mhm.
make decisions, kind of like this butterfly effect thing, right? That you
Yeah.
could go back in the past, change one thing, see what the reality is going to be. And that was something that I had thought in my book idea. So I
Mhm.
get on this call with this client and she's like, yeah, my book's about choices and decisions and changing one little thing. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm
Oh
like,
my god.
maybe this is the transfer that has happened,
Mhm.
and that's not to say I can't go back and write my time travel book, like I
Right.
can still do
You can
that,
still do it.
and I have every right to do that. But
Mhm.
yeah, you have to just like understand that transfer of energy,
Mhm.
you know. Um
It kind of reminds me of everything is new under the sun and everything is not new under the sun. I partially made up part of that quote, but
yeah.
because everything is new under the sun because those ideas are coming and like even as you were expressing how that idea in your business that that person came with, it's not going to be the same as yours. So it is a different idea, but it's not necessarily newish because the idea or concept has been
Well, everything's
given
already been done and thought of.
right.
Like every thought that's possible has already been thought by somebody.
Mhm.
They could be on the other side of the world and we don't even
Mhm.
know who they are. They're like a Tibetan monk or something and they have the same book
Mhm.
ideas. Like, you have no idea.
Mhm.
But you have to like choose to follow the idea because it's
Mhm.
different because it's you.
It's you.
It's your way of seeing it. And
Mhm.
obviously, this new client of mine is going to see her story in a totally different way than I was seeing my story.
Mhm.
And there's space for both of those.
Absolutely.
Um, I want to ask you, Vanessa, like, where do you get your inspiration from? And when do you
Mhm.
feel you're most inspired?
I get my hands down, my best inspiration comes from traveling because whenever I travel, it's almost like I get a clean slate. I get to be a completely new person. No one knows who I am. I get to it's almost like being born again
Mm-hmm.
because I get to go back to that childish self of mine who doesn't have the outside world viewing me as whatever it is. And not to say that you can't do that where you live, but you already have almost a bubble or community or things around you in your normal space of where you live that kind of affect how you might feel or feel that you are perceived or whatever. But when I'm traveling, I feel like I come in with a new perspective because obviously it's a place you might not have been to. You're also seeing things that aren't just so what is the word not mundane or
Mm.
normalized or repetitive, that's the word. So it's not like you're going to your same driving your same routes, you're not driving or seeing the same things over and over again that your mind kind of gets used to or yeah, because you know how you when you drive somewhere that you've driven a lot, sometimes you get to the destination, you're like, I have no idea how I
How
got
did I get
here
here?
because your brain doesn't really need to think about what it's seeing in order to navigate. And so my when I'm traveling, I feel like my brain is expanding because it's getting to see things, experience new things. I almost have to use that real new part of my brain that isn't on pilot mode. And so I'm able to see things in a different light and experience something, be feel like a different person or a different side of me that I don't always get to experience while I'm in my hometown. And so that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from traveling. I one thing I do when I travel is I love to get up very early before the city or wherever gets up and I go and take photos because I love seeing different colors or seeing how the light hits a building a certain way or something like that. I also do get it from sometimes TV shows, movies, Pinterest, breeding, but the main one for me is travel.
Travel.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, I also I love traveling, and that gives me that's when I've had my most my strikes of inspiration for these book ideas out of my sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, but something that also really inspires me is going to go and see art,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be the same kind of art as mine. I think it does help because especially like um, I have a one woman show. And so, like, if I go and see someone else's performance on a stage, I get so many ideas about, like, oh, look at how they're lighting it. Look at how their
Mm-hmm.
stage placement. Look at their props. Look at how they did this movement.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of one of the main ideas why we picked this topic today. I went and saw a show last night with my friend, and I walked in totally blind. I had no idea. I knew the title of the show. That was it. It was called Chalk. And I was like, okay, I don't even know. Okay, are they gonna play with chalk? What's going on? And I get in there, and the very first thing is this kind of sensitivity warning, and it's like there will be topics that could be uncomfortable
Mm.
in terms of women's health and reproductive health and fertility. And so, if you need to take a space, if you need to leave the room, please do so. And I was like, oh shit. So, like, so we get into this show, and it's a 2-woman show, one of which apparently I'd already met her years ago, which I totally went over my head. I was like, I've never met you. And she's like, it's good to see you again. I'm like, oh, fuck. It's like, oh, God. My brain. But so it was these 2 women, and they start this show, and they're talking about their journeys trying to get pregnant.
Mm.
And first it's kind of this like, I don't even know if I want to get pregnant, and they're in their 30s, and they're talking about being in their 30s, and one of them gets married, and one of them, they're doing these things, they're mid 30s, and their journeys evolve. Plus there's a lot of dance and movement. And so we see a lot of beautiful, stunning dancing within the storytelling. And then the miscarriages start.
Mm.
And for both of them. And they explore this on the stage physically with the chalk. And they have a big circle, and they're writing the names of these babies inside of the circle, and then they're wiping them away. And they're both wearing these black outfits, these kind of rompers. And so they're by the end of the show, they were covered in chalk, from rolling around on the stage. And I wept. I literally was like, I need to cry for like an hour. And I had to pull my shit together because I had to go talk to somebody. But I felt that I need to go cry for an hour because of how impactful this is. And it's crazy because this is how you can tell I'm an empath, because I got my tubes removed 2 years ago. I am not having a child. I don't want one. That's not my path in life. Tell me why. I'm watching this show, and I'm feeling what these women are feeling. And I'm like feeling that pain and the destruction on your body and the grief. And I felt it all. And that's not even my life. And so it was extremely impactful. And I kind of spent some time talking to my friend in the car, kind of debriefing on the show. And then I wake up this morning at 7 a.m. and I call my best friend. And I was like, I think I just saw a vision for the end of my show. I got a new show. I'm having to write. I get to write.
She'll be in Denver Fringe.
I'll be in the Denver Fringe this summer in June, and I'm doing a whole new show. And I called her, and I was like, I think I know what the end of my show is going to be. And it has a lot to do with vulnerability and how I see myself. And I'll just get into it. I think I've hated my body since before I knew what my body was. As a woman, that's probably pretty relatable to a lot of you. There's a lot of things we go through, and self-hatred and body shaming our own bodies is something I've always dealt with. And I was telling my friend this in the car last night, and I was getting a little weepy-eyed because I'm really not in a place that I feel comfortable with my body. And I'm kind of like, don't fit into any of my clothes right now, kind of that place.
I'm already crying.
Oh my God. And I was, because you're talking to your best friend, and you're just like, I hate my body. And this is what I've been dealing with. And even as I was watching these performers, one of them was like super fit. And I was like, I want her body. That's the body I want. And in this show idea, I had this idea. I woke up, and I was like, I'm going to take my clothes off on stage. Like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I'm going to set up a mirror on stage. And this just came to me this morning. Quite literally this morning at 7 a.m. I saw the vision of me, and the character I play has a big wig and the silly costume, and it's all silliness. But at the end of the show, I feel like I put this mirror on stage, and I take the wig off, and I start maybe even wiping off my makeup, and then I just take my clothes off. Not all of them, you know, mild, you know, PG, I guess. Yeah. But I want to stand there in front of the mirror and look at my body and just reckon with myself. And, you know, and the whole thing is this character, this kooky character, is a tour guide. So I want her to give one more tour, but it's a tour of Mimi. And it's a tour of Mimi's body and Mimi's soul and what does it mean? Who is she? And that's what I want to do. How do you feel about this?
Well, I'm clearly emotional. It's so hard when you like, well, this is going to be so relatable to everyone. Everyone has had body issues. I've had body issues. I hated my body at points in time too. But I think I'm excited for you because like we were just talking about this, like I hate seeing my friends hate themselves.
Yeah.
It like breaks me.
Oh baby.
Like you shouldn't.
I'm sorry. I know. It is hard.
And it like pisses me off. Like I hate society. I fucking hate society. Sorry, I'm gonna be yelling. It's gonna be loud. I hate society because it's like you've told all women, like women since the time we were young, have been told you're not good enough. You're not this. We can't win. And so like, fuck you, society. I hate you. Anyway, so because I'm just like, we could be so free if we didn't have all of these standards, if we didn't have all of these things that we have to be, if we didn't have to be always so like put together on. I feel like it's women are always performing, and it's like, why can't we just be? Yeah. We want to just be human. And so I think that this is going to be a really good show because so many people will relate, but also I think it's going to be good because as artists, when it comes to, I hate being vulnerable. I hate being vulnerable, but I know I'm supposed to, especially as someone who is an artist who wants to write books and have their own films and all these things. And I know that vulnerability, if you think about any type of art that you watched, even your show last night, it brought you to emotion because of the vulnerability that they had. They're going through a very difficult, they showed you their story of their difficult journeys, even though it's not one that you and I might want. You could still relate to it. And I think that art is so important, and it's important for women to be in art because art is what shapes society. It's what allows people to feel, to have emotions, to, and it's healthy for us. It's healthy for us to emote the way that we're feeling, the things that we are going on in our brains, our hearts, and whether it's heartbreak or whether it's like learning how to love yourself in the midst of how you feel, whether it's dismantling what society thinks is supposed to be for a woman or for not a woman or whatever. Art is what's the healing mechanism to a lot of society. And so I think that being vulnerable just helps us with that because vulnerability also allows for us to have that empathetic heart that we all need in order to move on in life, in order to just realize and recognize humanity as a whole. And so I think that like by you doing this, it's going to be helpful, especially for you. Cause like I, yeah, I want you to feel like you look at yourself and you love Mimi because you love Mimi, not because I do, not because whoever does. And I think a lot of women need to hear that. Just people in general need to hear that message. So yeah, I don't remember what the question was. Yeah.
I think we're both inspired by this, you know, and I did a lot of crying, you know, before we turned on the cameras here. And
she said, surprise, you're going to cry. watching it warm me. No, I'm just kidding.
And I think my best work is my hardest work. All the work I put
Heart,
into the
as
world,
in heartist.
hard. Oh, whoa.
Oh, is that not what you meant? I thought you meant that.
My best work is my hardest, but it is my heartist
Mm-hmm.
because I'm putting my full heart on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything I've ever written, everything I've ever done on stage comes at an extreme cost to me because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I'm always naked on stage. Like not
Yeah.
literally, but figuratively, I am naked on stage and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, here is my heart and my soul and here it is and you can take it or leave it. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's so beautiful about being a performer, is
Mm-hmm.
you are laying your heart out there. And, I have to give myself props for that because not everyone can do that. Not
It's
everyone
hard.
can look at themselves and say their biggest fears out loud in front of a
Mm-hmm.
camera on a stage, on a page. And I do that consistently and it is exhausting. Vulnerability is exhausting.
It's so exhausting. And especially after you've been vulnerable, you ever sometimes after you've been vulnerable, you get almost these fighting demons who are like, "What the fuck did you just do? Why did you do that? Why are you?"
I get like a
You know?
vulnerability hangover
Yeah, that
where I'm
too.
just like, oh my god, I'm exhausted. I need a glass of water. Like I just and I think these two things go hand in hand because I
Mhm.
think vulnerability, when I've been at my lowest points is when I've grabbed the pen, when I've reached for the camera, when
Mhm.
I've reached for the thing, is when I'm like, it can't get worse than this. Like, I can't feel worse than I feel now.
Mhm.
And then I articulate that and I put it out
Mhm.
there. And then I eventually, months, years later, when it finally sees the light of day, I'm no longer in that place, but I can still access that place because I've lived that experience. And then someone else on the stage goes, oh my God, me too. And this is
Mhm.
not the first time I have broached this subject in my work. I would say my second one woman show, because I talk about my 20 something self having a conversation with 30 something self. And in my 20s, I did a lot of crash diets, a lot of fads, a lot of trying to take up less space and trying to be this smaller version of myself.
Mm.
And it came at a cost, and I'm still working through a lot of that trauma because it's trauma. And, we go through as women, we're so vulnerable to
Mhm.
the media and the marketing. And God, my freaking Instagram is nothing but one big weight loss pill advertisement.
I swear to God.
And, at a certain point, you're like, God damn, like, what is going on here? And so, as I'm moving into this next phase of my life, right, I see this as a new opening for opportunity and a new chapter. I'm quite literally writing a new thing in the next
Mhm.
few months. I'm going about it in a completely different way, right? I'm inspired by, that work I saw the other night, and I'm inspired by myself and my own journey and my own story. And I'm going to be trying to improve myself, not because of anything else, but the fact that I want to prove to myself that I can do it.
Mm. I love that.
And, it's small things. It's such small things like after I like crashed out about this morning and I was like, I think I'm gonna get my clothes off on stage. I took a shower and I like to listen to music in the shower sometimes. And Bad Mama Jamma came on.
Oh, she's
She's
a
bad
bad
Mama
mamma
Jamma.
jamma. I was listening to that too
Were
this
you
morning.
really?
Did it come on after Ring My Bell?
Yes.
Stop. Are we on the same playlist?
Oh my god, that's crazy. So I put on Ring My Bell, and then there was like one other song, and then it was Bad Mama Jamma, or maybe it was right after. And I just started dancing in the shower, and I was just like feeling myself, I'm soaping up myself, and I'm like, yeah, she's Bad Mama Jamma. That's crazy. That's inspiring that we were both listening to
The
that today,
same, yeah.
and I had to just be like, just let it loose, girl. Just dance and in your little shower. And it's small things like that keep you in the game, because I have to stay inspired. One
Mm-hmm.
thing we didn't discuss is like when there's no inspiration, And there's this
Mhm.
misconception that to get inspiration, you must be blessed by this strike of
Strike
lightning
the fairy.
that the fairy comes to you. And if you don't get that, you don't get inspiration, and it sucks for you. When actually, it's the opposite in that
Mhm.
the inspiration comes once you start doing
Just
it.
start.
So when you start doing it and you're like, I really don't want to write today. I
Mhm.
really don't want to do this today. Or the gym or the painting or
Whatever it
whatever it
is.
is. Like, you will become inspired because you started doing it.
Mhm.
Give
'Cause
yourself 5 minutes and you'll be like, I'm going to write some more.
mhm.
I'm going to put on a fun tune and dance to it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So it's completely the opposite that how we think about it, that inspiration just hits you
Mhm.
out of the blue when actually it comes from taking those actions.
Action.
That's why I had that vision this morning.
Mhm.
Is because I went out into the world and I saw the art. Even though I did not want to leave the house, I was so tired yesterday.
Mhm.
I was like, I want to cancel. Like, I don't even know what this show is about. Like,
Mhm.
she would forgive me, if I cancel
She
last
would
minute. She
yeah.
she would forgive
And
me,
how many times do we do
and we
that?
do that all the time. And
Mhm.
I just I put on an outfit and I tried to silence those voices that told me it's a little tight. This
Mhm.
outfit's a little tight, and I said, okay, just go to the show. And now we're here, and now I feel like this whole uplifted new possibilities.
Mhm.
Because I went out and
Took that
watched
action.
someone else's work about something totally different.
Mhm.
Totally different performers, the beautiful dancing. I can't dance for shit. There will not be dancing in my show.
You
Well, there
sure?
will, maybe. It'll just be my
Your
style.
kind of
My
dancing.
style of dancing. A little off, a little different, a little kooky.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's why the artist way pages are so important, is going back to the you don't need inspiration to start. You need to take that action because I mean, when I started the artist way, I thought to myself, there's no way I could write 3 pages every day.
mm-hmm.
3
And you have a big
pages?
notebook, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's
The
like
smaller one?
I have a smaller one, but I also have a big one.
Uh-huh.
And it's been I mean, you start writing, even if you're writing your today to-do list or whatever it is, it's actually helps you with getting that inspiration to come back to you and you realize, oh, 3 pages is like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so with whatever creative endeavor, and the other reason why art with whatever creative endeavor, writing it is helpful because writing really helps stimulate that brain power for whatever type of art that you're doing, but also just helps with your cognitive ability with your writing with your hand, your mobility with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um also might help with preventing
Alzheimer's. Yeah.
Alzheimer's and
I think I want
dementia.
a whole episode about writing.
We should do. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, because it unlocks a whole new possibility for you in
And
your creative process and your thinking.
your imagination starts to reflow again. Because you remember when you were a kid and you were playing outside or wherever you were playing, and you could just come up with the most ridiculous scenarios, and there was no judgment, no nothing. It was just, this is what's happening with
You're
the,
like,
you know,
we're on a pirate ship. This
yeah.
trampoline is the Black Pearl,
Mm-hmm.
and I have kidnapped the princess. Come fight me.
Yeah.
You would just do that, and you could think about that, and you were
Mm-hmm.
free to do that. I think
Mm-hmm.
we are not as creative or inspired these days because the world pumps it out of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, did you get that email done? Did you get that done? Did you get that done? Did you get that? But it's like, why
Blah
don't
blah
we
blah
just
blah.
play for pretend,
Exactly.
play for funsies?
It's so helpful and healthy for us.
Yeah. So being inspired, getting inspired. It could be, I'm going to color with a coloring book today. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to watch a show I've never watched before. I'm going to paint my nails. I'm going to go for a long walk and listen to the birds. I mean, there's so many small ways you can build inspiration in your life and then take that into your creative practice. You
Mm-hmm.
know, an artist that we know and love and cherish, had these same feelings of like, oh my god, I don't want to do it. Like Monet and like,
Mm-hmm.
Shakespeare and like, all these like people that are like big time artists that we revere. They had the same feelings that we did about inspiration and getting their work done and
Mm-hmm.
paying bills and doing all of that. They're the same as we are. And if you can access your inspiration and kind of take charge of that, I think you open a whole new possibility.
Yeah. I do want to leave with I think that for a challenge for this week that we should all have is how can you incorporate some vulnerability within your art that you're working on this week? And I would challenge you to do that, whatever it is, whether it's you get on social media, you say something vulnerable, or you know, strip naked at your comedy show, or within reason. Okay, I don't want to get
We're not
sued.
trying to go to jail, okay?
Okay, I'm not trying to go to jail. I just want you to be vulnerable. Okay, um, I think that that would be a really great homework assignment,
I love that.
creative assignment.
Yeah, I think that's great. And if there's something that's been gnawing at you for a while that maybe you haven't talked about with anybody, or maybe you are working through in therapy, like say it out loud and like tell someone, like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. And like, you might be surprised. They
Mm-hmm.
might be, I mean, like the fact that you broke down in tears listening to me talk about my struggle,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just not how you see me, and you see me as the highest form of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the simple idea that I could hate anything about myself sends you into outer space. That's a true friend right there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a Vanessa, you can't have mine, but you should go find your own.
I'm not for share.
We're not sharing.
No, it's okay. I can share. I can share.
Yeah. But yeah, having a safe space. I feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
part of vulnerability too. Is if you have a safe space where you can say something without judgment. You can say, "This is what I'm really dealing with," or "I feel crazy about this." But
Mm-hmm.
if you need a safe space, call us up. I am the safest of the safe space. I'm a little too safe sometimes. I'm a little empathetic. I'm like, yeah, a sack of goo. A big teddy bear sack of goo with my emotions and how I display my vulnerability. Um, but yeah, that felt good. I feel really good after that episode.
Yeah. We love you. Again, happy Women's Day. And we are the
The
girls
girls
next
next
pour.
pour.